This is not a main thing, really I'm a coder. Coffee stains and in my chains, I am such a loner. San Francisco faces got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over. Nico, beast mode, 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 Nico, beast mode. This is not a main thing, really I'm a coder. Coffee stains and in my chains, I am such a loner. San Francisco faces got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over. Nico.
Chat was good. Let's get it in. Another day, more interviews, helping more students out. First person. Yo, what's up?
Yeah, hello?
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Yo,
Yeah.
what's up, man?
Wait, I'm on your stream, so it's kind of messing me up. Let me get out of it. Okay, there we go. Hello?
Yeah, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. What time? Let's see. You getting ready for your interviews?
Yeah. I got like a system design interview coming out, so I gotta just prep for that.
Oh, so this one you want to do system design or coding?
Yeah, I want to do. So the
Okay.
thing is, like, I started learning system design like I don't even know, like a day and a half ago, 2 days ago. I like quickly try to go through some of like the hello interview stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna lie, I have like no idea like what I'm doing, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm being honest. But yeah, I'm just trying to maybe like go through a problem, probably with like more guidance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I can like learn as I'm going, because I know obviously I can't actually like do the problem like
Yeah.
well. Does that make sense?
Are you have you hopped on for interview before or no?
Yeah. I've hopped on to do like a technical,
Oh yeah, nice.
like the regular, just
Okay.
like Python, like
Okay,
leak
let's
code.
get it. So what questions did you already solve on Hello Interview? Or like
I mean,
system design in general?
I haven't necessarily looked at like any questions. I like briefly looked over at the very beginning of design. I think like Dropbox or something.
Yeah.
I went up to the functional requirements. That was it. But like I guess I kind of understand like the framework a little bit, but I don't know. Like I've never actually implemented on a problem. So
Yeah. So what kind of company is it? Because that's gonna guide my like the question. Because if it's like a social media, like if you're interviewing for Meta, then I know what to ask. If it's like, so what kind of company
yeah,
is it?
yeah. I mean, um, I don't know if I can actually like disclose exactly what it
Okay.
is. I think
Yeah.
I might have signed like
Yeah.
some
No
NDA, but
problem. Yeah.
maybe I can message you it, and then maybe you could just look at it.
Yeah. Just message it in the chat, because it'll help me figure out a good
Okay,
question.
in the chat for like the which chat, the Google Meet chat.
Google. I already sent, and I sent you. Okay, you're in there. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm in the coder thing, but yeah, I'll send you the thing in the Google Meets. Yeah.
Okay. Let me think.
Yes.
Yo, Paul, what's
Interesting.
up? Okay, I don't know what they asked. Let me look it up real quick on the side.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know because I think they made me sign like some NDAs. I don't even know if I could.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Yo, Paul,
Like
what's up,
obviously.
man? Are you a grad, by the way? Like you've already graduated,
No. This is for intern.
and they make you do system design?
Yeah. I don't know. It's yeah. I've never done like any of this before, so it's looking really tough. But I remember I saw you run through a system design with someone else, and you're like teaching him while he was doing it. So I was like, I might as well sign up.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Arthur, what's up? Welcome. Okay. He can't disclose secret. All right, I'm gonna start this up. Hey,
Yeah, I
everyone.
mean, I don't really care too much about it, but I just don't
Yeah.
want to get in any trouble. Like,
I
because
mean,
like the
yeah. I
name.
mean, you don't want to get you want to make sure you get the job too.
Right. Obviously that. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna start up a video. Give me a sec. Hey everyone, so today we have somebody based out of Missouri. Does it say what school you go to? Or it doesn't, or solved around 200 leak code questions. And yeah, I guess today is not really a coding interview. We're gonna do a system design interview. You want to give a quick background of yourself when it comes to system design to help like guide me in running this interview?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Well, my system design experience is kind of little to none. I've been looking at some of the Hello interview content for like 1 to 2-ish days,
Mm.
and I think I got through some of the basic stuff, but haven't really looked at any example problems yet. So yeah, just pretty fresh, just looking to see like what it looks like, kind of.
Yeah. So what's your experience actually building out applications? Because sometimes that helps you actually perform well in these interviews as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm doing an internship right now at a bank. So I guess that's given me like some insight into like designing systems because my
Mm.
project is like creating this like performance testing tool. So I've been able to think about kind of I guess some trade-offs and things like that there. But I mean, generally, I mean, it's yeah. I don't think I've had too much experience with it.
What about in your side projects? Do you have any side projects or projects in school where you had to deploy it to the internet or have a database up on the cloud?
Yeah, I mean, I did a hackathon recently too. But I guess I don't know if I put too much thought into that. So I would say I guess I have a little bit of experience in that is a good way to put it.
Okay, cool. All right, you're in the coder pad already, so
Yeah.
we're gonna hop into drawing mode right
All right.
here.
Drawing. Let me just click this. All right, bet.
Hello. Okay. So what I'm gonna ask you to design is I want you to design let's see, Uber Eats.
Okay. Designing Uber Eats.
Yeah. So it's gonna be. I mean, Uber Eats is a super large application, so
Yeah.
we only have 45 minutes. So I don't expect you to like rebuild Uber Eats just on the spot. So it's gonna be up to you to clarify requirements and drill down to a very small set of requirements or a very small minimal viable product for Uber Eats. And yeah, I'll let you lead the way here for now and just let me know if you have any questions. I'll like intervene if needed.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I guess yeah, just getting started. I know you have to start with the kind of the functional requirements. So we'll start with that. Um, so basically, like I guess we can't necessarily focus on everything, right? Because Uber Eats is a pretty big app. So just I guess maybe just getting 3 points would be good. Um, so I'm thinking I guess the main things would be um, I guess being able to um, I guess look at a list of like restaurants that are like nearby per se.
Mm.
Um, other things would be I guess like place. Hmm. Like placing an order maybe.
Mm.
Um, and then so looking at a list of restaurants or like being able to list and then I guess being hmm, maybe like filter through and like have some sort of search function per se
Mm.
um, for certain restaurants per se. So we'll just do that. We'll do like filtering. Um, I guess restaurants. Um, I guess my question is there something like you want me to focus on out of here, or something you think that's like, I guess out of scope because you talked about not having obviously
Yeah.
enough time to do everything. But do you think there's something that we should focus on?
Yeah, I think this is a good this is a good set that we can work on. Is there other features that you think are like we could have but would probably be out of scope?
Yeah, yeah. Good question. Good question. Let me think. Say you can look at a list of restaurants and you pick it. You place an order. Um, I guess yeah. Some of the stretch features would probably be something like actually being able to monitor like where your food is at per se, in
Mm.
terms of like the delivery actually coming. So like being able to track delivery, probably be something that's potentially out of scope here. And I guess some sort of I mean, you would need like some sort of thing to actually like check if you could like buy it per se. So like some like if you have the necessary funds to setting up something like that too,
Mm.
um, would be like more of a complex thing, I think. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I'll say below the line is being able to actually put in orders and the delivery portion. Or yeah, that would be like out of
oh,
scope.
take this out. Okay,
Or no, go keep that one in.
yeah,
Placing an order. Yeah, we'll say that's out of scope for now. I just want at first just being able to look at restaurants nearby and then filtering restaurants. And then if we
okay,
have time, we can talk about placing an order.
okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Placing, yeah,
Um,
more of like the delivery part, like part that's out of scope with is like how do we actually get your food to you? We don't need to worry about that right now or for this
okay,
interview probably.
all right. Um, yeah, so I think we're done with the functional requirements. I guess moving on, kind of the non-functional requirements. Um, so I guess here it's you kind of think about I guess the scalability of your design, right? Um, and I guess Uber Eats generally is pretty scalable. You have like a lot of users using it at a lot of times. So I guess down the line we can kind of think about how we can make these orders happen in like a certain a certain amount of time. You don't want too much latency on it, right? So um, I guess keeping down because high number of like users, something like that. Um, and then I guess talking about I know this is mentioned a lot in the non-functional, but like talking about like the cap theorem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess understanding that partition tolerance is like something that needs to be there, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the argument between consistency and availability here. Um, I guess we would prioritize. Um, I think probably. Let me think. Hmm, I would think maybe consistency is more important in this case, just because, like, if I guess a restaurant per se like is out of stock of something, like you wouldn't want other people to order that option if it was gone. But I guess there's also argument with availability where like you would just want to have the app open, or like be able to be used regardless of like things going down. So I'm not exactly sure, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll put we'll put consistency to be greater for now, but we can think about that later
Mm-hmm.
with our design.
Sure.
I think other than that, I'm not gonna lie, nothing else is coming to mind for the non-functional requirements. So if there's something else you think we should touch on here.
What where do we want to keep latency down? Like
Um,
specifically, what does it mean to for latency to be down?
I guess in terms of being able to, um, I mean, kind of with everything, right? Like being able to look whenever you're looking at the list of restaurants, you want it to load somewhat quick, right? I mean, I think that's like what we're focusing on first. So I guess yeah, keeping that down, and then also after like making sure that when you place an order, whatever the logic is, it doesn't take too long for you to be able to do that, right? Because you don't want a user waiting a long time for an order to actually like go through. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're good for now on the non-functional.
Okay.
Let's say the scale is 100 million users.
100 million users.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now, kind of going into the next step, which is like the core entities, right? Oh shoot! I don't know why this is up here. Okay, the core entities. So just kind of thinking about like the different objects in our entire system. So I'm thinking, at least for right now, obviously we have like a user. We have like restaurants, and then I guess like placing an order, and that's something that we'll kind of focus on a little bit later. But for right now, I think we keep it pretty simple with just with user, restaurant, and order. Does that sound okay?
We have users, we have restaurants, we have orders. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess moving forward here, we want to do like API design. We'll kind of think about what we have to do there. So I don't know if this is like, is the sizing okay on your part? It's like kind of weird for me. Okay. So I guess looking at the APIs, right? The first functional requirement is like looking at a list of the restaurants, right? So we'll have like a GET request of some sort, and we'll do like, is that how you spell it? Restaurants, and then this will be able to like get us a certain restaurant. I'm assuming we want to be able to filter as well. So we'll some of the query parameters like we can have are like, we'll say like type, right, equals like restaurant type or something, like something like that. I mean, we could just name it the same thing, but so we could have something like this where it'll essentially return all the restaurants, and then we'll query for the exact type, or we could like put like a name per se, like if there's a name we're looking for. Actually, no, it's not that. I'm pretty sure it's this. Maybe something like that. But yeah, we could basically have, I'm not saying we should chain both of these together, but I'm saying like these are kind of the different query parameters we could have, and then that would return like either, actually here, let's split it up into different. So this one would return like a restaurant, like a list of restaurants, right?
Sure.
And then a different one can be like looking at the restaurants, we have like a certain name we're looking for, and then boom, that could return like a restaurant object with that name. I'm just gonna assume that
are these two different endpoints?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same endpoint, but with the different query parameters.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to like write it because I'm assuming you wouldn't. I guess you could chain it, but like you could put both in one request, but we'll just keep it like this for now. So this is kind of the same endpoint. So I think this is what will allow us to look at the list of restaurants nearby and filtering the restaurants. I guess we could also have something like a distance like query parameter somewhere. I'm not exactly sure how that will work, but another like some other thing, right? Where I don't know exactly how we're going to measure the distance, but something like that to find the restaurants nearby. I think we can maybe think about this a little bit later after getting some base core functionality, but something like that. I guess, let me think. Other than that, so this covers looking at a list of restaurants, filtering for the restaurants based on like distance / name / type. So like basically what we're looking for in the search function. Let me move this. and then like placing an order. I guess we would want to save like that order in a database somewhere, right? To make sure that like you have a history of your order. So I guess that would be something more so like a post request to here, let me think. Restaurants. I'm assuming you want to have, I guess you want to save the orders for each user, right? So I guess we'll do like orders, and then we'll have like some type of ID. So you'll like post your order to your ID, right? With like some sort of payload, which will say like, I guess like name of the restaurant, I guess like list of like what you ordered, maybe like price, something like that. Because you want to like keep track of your orders, right? Yeah. Does that look okay?
Yeah. That was good.
You said yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. Let's go to the next portion.
Okay. Yeah. So just looking at so we have API design down. I guess we can look at kind of we can go to the high level design. So we can start kind of maybe mapping something out. So yeah, let's I guess let's do this. Let's use our endpoints that we made with our API as kind of the guiding factor. With how we're gonna kind of plan this. So okay. So first things, we want to set up this get request thing. So we'll have like a client here.
Actually, let's confirm this. What's the ID here?
That's like a user ID.
So they'll pass in their user ID, and then what? It'll make an order on behalf. Okay, and then
Yeah, so it's gonna save the orders, but I'm not exactly sure how it's actually gonna it's gonna fulfill the order per se.
Is there any security concerns that could happen with this post request?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming we want something like an authentication header or something like that. Maybe using some type of like token of some sort to authenticate.
Why would we need that?
Why would we need that?
Yeah, like what would improve that from what you have here?
Wait, sorry. What do you mean? What would improve?
Or I mean, like why do we need to introduce that?
Because we want to. Like, why do we need to introduce security concerns or like think about security here?
Like what would authentication do here, or like how would you use it to fix the security concern with this post request?
Like adding an authentication header, right?
Yeah. Or let's just get back to the initial part of here, which is like what is wrong with this post request that's a security concern, or could I fake being someone?
Yeah, because you have the user ID in your URL.
Yeah, pretend I just put in your user ID and made an order. Would that be possible there?
Yeah, that probably could be possible, which is why we would need the authentication, the session token or JWT token of some sort.
Okay.
Okay, some authentication right here. But yeah, so okay. All right, we got that cleared up. So we have our client here. And then I guess this is gonna face I guess we need some sort of like authentication layer right before it hits our server. So I'm thinking I'm thinking of actually, yeah, I think we could just do the authentication with the server, right?
Yeah, let's just
With
assume. What are the different ways you can authenticate?
I know you could use like an API gateway, but I was thinking that was more for like microservices and things like that.
But I mean, for now, let's not worry about just the authentication. Let's assume that there's authentication every time you make one of these requests. There's
Okay.
authentication headers already in there.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so we have our client, and then we have our restaurants. I guess we have our, so this is kind of like the service for, here I'm thinking if we need separate services, or we could just, I guess we'll just name the service, I guess, for now, and then this is going to be, oh shoot. All right, not gonna lie, I don't know how to delete this. Look,
Which one?
like the arrows. I don't know how to like de-click it.
Sorry. Click escape.
Oh, escape. Okay, but okay. Yeah. So we want to keep this arrow probably because we want to.
You can also just use like the free form if you want to, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just not familiar with this thing. Okay, so we have like a client, and then we have our server.
click
Alright,
escape
yeah,
if it tweaks.
Okay, there we go. We have our server, and then we're gonna have some sort of database, right? I don't know why this. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we have our database. We're gonna have our DB right here. Here, let me just. Yeah, so I guess for this endpoint, right, it would be the client would hit this server, and then it would essentially just query the DB to where it'll send it back. So I guess talking about the DB here, or like maybe explaining a little bit more might be good. So I'm thinking we could at least in terms of what type of DB to use. We could do, yeah, I think we could just use like a regular SQL database, like Postgres or something, and then have like different tables. I guess like we'll have like a user table, and then we'll have like a order table, and then we'll have like a restaurants table. So
Yeah,
we'll
maybe
have,
we can dive into also what are the different columns there.
yeah. Yeah, so you got users, restaurant, and then let me just put this down first. And then like the orders. Yeah, so I guess let's talk about the restaurant first. For the restaurant, we would just want to have like the name, something like the location. It's probably going to be good for like distance stuff later. So we got name, location, we have type. I guess for now we can just keep it like that. And then with the users, we would have like some sort of an ID, like a user ID. And yeah, I mean, that would just have like obviously your name. Yeah, I mean,
See,
user ID
thanks
and
for the
name for right
donation.
now.
Respect.
And then I guess the orders would have like some sort of an order ID. I guess like what you bought, so like receipt of some sort. Yeah, something like that. Hmm.
Okay.
I guess we also have to be able to like relate the users and the orders, right? You have to do like some type of join of some sort whenever you actually query for this. Um, let me think.
Yep.
User
How would you
ID.
do that? How do we relate the order back to the user?
It's a great question. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, don't have a clue. Um,
Are you familiar with foreign keys?
yeah, I mean I've heard of it, but I'm not gonna lie, I honestly don't know exactly how it works.
Okay. So I think what I'll give a small hint here, or yeah, we could just probably just store the user ID here. And this would be a foreign key. This would be a foreign key to the users table. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't see anything that
Oh,
you're right.
let me,
Yeah.
or yeah, you're clicked into here. So let me try to click away for a second.
Okay.
Here we go, user ID,
Okay, there we go.
foreign key. So this
Mm,
this user ID pretty much stores a
yeah.
foreign key to the user's table. So we can do a join
Okay.
there. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, there we go.
Can you tell me the data types that you're gonna have here for each of the columns?
The data types.
Yeah. Like in SQL, you need to define the data type for each column. One is gonna be like int or varchar, etc.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've looked at anything SQL, so I wouldn't be able to do that
Okay,
very well. Yeah.
no problem. Okay, what do we have here? We have the functional requirements, the non-functional, the requirements, API design. What else do you want to get into here?
Um, I mean, we've covered. You said we've covered the functional.
Yep. So
Yeah.
okay, walk me through the different functional requirements, and
Yeah.
let's just make sure the system can handle it. So what happens when we're looking at a list of restaurants nearby, and walk me through the whole flow from the client perspective all the way to the database and back.
Yeah, yeah. So the client will obviously want to search. Um, we'll send a request to the server um, with whatever it's like trying to search for, right? So in the case of looking at, I guess, the list of restaurants with its type, it's going to send a request to the server. Then the server will query the database. And then essentially it would look at the restaurant table and find the ones where the restaurant type equals the type that they're looking for. And then it's going to have like a list of restaurants basically that it will send back to the server and then back to the client.
Okay, so let's talk about it from this perspective. Like the client performs the GET request, right?
Yeah.
So how does that translate into something that hits the server and eventually translate into something, or eventually translates into a query that eventually gets you the data that you eventually return to the user?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
So walk me through from the GET request what happens at the client side when it performs the GET request. More down into the details. How does this server handle that GET request and form the query that it'll run against the database and then return back to the user?
Like, how does it do it?
Yeah, like
Um,
a bit more in depth. Could you explain that a bit more in depth?
yeah, yeah, I can try. So it's going to send an HTTP request
Mm-hmm.
to the server. Obviously, there'll probably be some like authentication there with the headers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
The server will accept it, right? Because we're assuming that the authentication is there. And then it's gonna have the information that like we kind of want to query, right? So I assume we're gonna have some like, I don't know, some object relational mapping thing that will be able to send like a SQL query to the DB, um, to where the DB would then like return the results of that SQL query that the server has made, and then it would send it back to the what is it, the client in like JSON or something.
Mm-hmm. So what are the different options for servers here?
What
Like
are the different options?
how would we implement the server? Not at the hardware perspective, but in the software at the software level. What are the
Um,
different technologies that we could use to create a server that we host?
create a server that we host.
Mm-hmm. Like at the application layer.
Like some, well, I don't quite like, just like a back end of some sort.
Yeah, like what is our when you say server here, what how do we actually set up a server?
Like not at
What
the hardware level.
technologies? Well, yeah, what do you know about the server essentially? So
Um,
when you say a server, what do you mean here? What is it doing?
it's, it's getting the client. It's trying to fulfill what the client is requesting. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's gonna
Like
route.
how do you actually code up a server?
So you have like endpoints, right? In your,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's like an API, right? So you have endpoints that the client is trying to basically hit,
Mm-hmm.
and then those endpoints are are going to do all the logic to actually go into the DB and get the information.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, I mean that's
Makes
about
sense.
what
So
I have.
so what are let's talk about we're able to look at a list of restaurants.
Yeah.
So is there any area here where your design won't scale?
Um, Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming if like all the clients are going, if all the clients are just going to one server, because like I'm assuming you might have like more clients, right? Like here and here, and if they're all routing to like the same server, then it's probably going to be a lot of stress on the server. So you'd probably need to like have a couple servers, most likely to kind of distribute the load per se.
Mm. So what that look
Yeah, I
like?
mean, um, yeah. So obviously, yeah. I mean, I guess mentioning it, you would first try to vertically scale as much as you can, up
Mm.
to the constraints that you have, and whatever you can do. Because whenever you do introduce like a bunch of other servers, you also have to worry about like the synchronization. I guess like potential like, I guess, race conditions with the DB if you're like writing to it at the same time, things like that. So it gets a lot more complicated. So obviously like maxing out the vertical scaling first, and then yeah, like you said, obviously there's not there's like what you said, 100 million users, so there's no way, no matter what type of architecture you're using, that it can sustain that. You'll probably have like, so you'll have a bunch of clients here, and then you'll have like a bunch of servers, right, that are to the DB, that are
Mm.
like facing the DB, and you'll have some sort of like, I think load balancer, which would use some sort of hashing technique. So like we'll have something like load balancer, and then let's imagine that we have like 3 servers, right? It's
Mm.
gonna basically like route it to the one with, I guess, the one per se with the least. Oh, this is so hard. Okay, with the least like traffic, right?
Yeah.
So it'll look like something like this. So this essentially allows us to, whenever you have so many users looking at it at the same time, we're able to distribute that between each server, and you're not going to have like huge latency spikes and stuff if something goes wrong.
Mm.
Also, this helps with like the availability of our system, right? Because given that one system goes down, you have other systems what is it? Kind of like still keep it going. I guess another consideration to talk about here is like I guess actually I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I guess another thing to talk about is like as much as you're having a lot of servers, you also can't have just like one database too, right? So you probably do like some sort of like horizontal scaling there of the DBs as well, right? To make sure you're able to fulfill the request.
Yeah.
And then I guess you could also think of other things like if you have your restaurant DB as like a separate thing, like whenever you're looking at the restaurants, you're just like making a bunch of reads, right? You're barely ever gonna like add restaurants. So like you could maybe like make a bunch of like read replicas where essentially you'd have like one database where you could write to, but you have a bunch of different like read databases so that you can like read easily and see and query for like restaurants and all that. So for like something like users and orders, we could probably just like shard, and then for this we could use like read replicas, to scale the read.
Yeah. I think I want to dig a little deeper into some of the SQL stuff as well.
Okay.
So let's talk about what would the query look like for getting restaurants here.
The query look like for
so getting restaurants by type.
Yeah, I'm not the most well versed in this, but it would be something like getting is, so you have your table already created.
Yeah,
You're like,
let's assume the tables
you want me
are
to try to
created.
type out the query?
Yeah, type out the query, like the select shouldn't be it won't be a massive query, because the thing
so it'd be
is
like,
you're also interviewing for more of junior role or intern role, so like designing these high level systems, setting up a load balancers, servers, all this stuff. More of the senior engineers and like staff engineers would be doing that. So that's why I'm trying to get a sense of some of the stuff that you'd be doing day to day, like designing queries, designing APIs. That's why I'm sort of wanting to focus a little bit more over there.
Yeah, I got it. So it'd be select, I guess like I forgot if you do like that or you do restaurant, but this is like select all, I think. So like from the restaurants table, and I think where is like where you can like query for something. So it'll be like where restaurant, or like whatever it is, restaurant type. I don't know if you I think you say like equals something, whatever you're looking for. I think something along those lines for just like a basic query.
So let's start from restaurants where the restaurant type equals
Whatever.
So pretend we had 2 million restaurants in our database, and maybe 20,000 different restaurant types. So
20,000 different restaurant types.
Yeah. Or just pretend we have a large restaurant database.
Okay.
Large amount of restaurant database. Or like a lot of restaurants in our database. Based on how your database schema and your query is set up, will your database query be performant?
No, it's going to be pretty slow because it's going to look through the entire restaurants table, I think.
How would you speed that up?
I'm pretty sure I read about this topic briefly, but some sort of database indexing. So we can maybe set up an index on, I guess, restaurant type. We could do that either through like a key value or like a tree. And that's basically going to allow us to more quickly look through these different things. And it's not, I guess for restaurant type, it's not that much of an issue because I'm pretty sure database indexing makes it harder for when you write something to that column because you have to like update it, right? But since you're not doing too many writes to it, I think indexing on it could make sense and make it easier whenever you're searching through. So yeah, we could do like a key value indexing on the restaurant type column. And that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't know too much more detail. But
Okay. So what's the point of, or let me ask you this. Is there any other areas in your design that could lead to scalability issues?
save your client load balancer servers. So, I mean, we talked about the servers
Yep.
being an issue. Then the DB we talked about, I guess, making multiple, I guess, DBs.
So why
Like
why
using
would we need multiple DBs?
because like you have so many servers, right? So you don't want it to just all send queries to one database. Like it's the same. I guess it's the same idea with like why you want several servers, right? Because you have a lot of clients, but then once you like up the amount of servers that you have, you're also upping the amount of requests that your system can take as a whole. So then the bottleneck here comes in the database, right? Because if you only have one and all of it's making queries to this, it's going to be really slow and like lead to a lot of like, I guess, issues. Because even with like the different servers in itself, whenever you're like writing anything, you don't want it to cause like race conditions. So I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of locking to some extent, and that's going to like slow down really hard for some of the other servers, right? So I guess like being able to have different like shard the DBs is, I think, the terminology to scale both reads and writes. But you have little partitions of
Yeah. So
what's in
the
the database. Yeah.
let me get this straight. So the database is the bottleneck now. It could be receiving too much load, could be doing too much work. So what are the
Yeah.
different ways that we can make, or we could reduce the load on this database? Maybe just write it down and list them out.
The different ways.
Yep, that we could reduce the load on the database.
Okay, so we have like we can do the sharding, which will obviously like partition parts of database into many. So you're responsible for less, basically. Second thing would be like scaling the making the DBs like separate for like the restaurant and for the this thing. It's like separating it.
Wouldn't that just be
And
the same thing as sharding? Separating them?
yeah, but I think yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll just keep it at sharding then. I guess another thing we can do with the DB is like if like we could probably cache it somewhere too, right? Like if everyone's looking for a certain type of like restaurant or something, and it's like we could cache like earlier responses, like maybe within. I guess we could use a different technology to sort of cache, or maybe just like keep it within the server for a little bit. But that would probably lead to issues. So yeah, maybe like add a different component. Yeah, add like a new technology somewhere, or like you would have a cache, and if it's check. Basically, the first thing is you get the server request from the client, and then you check the cache first. If it's not in the cache, then you do the query. So that's probably going to reduce as well.
Okay, cool. We're at the 45 minutes now.
All right.
Cool. How do you think you did? What's
Yeah,
your
that was
thoughts?
pretty awful. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know what I was doing for like most of it, but I think it's good that like I understand, like, I guess, how much I don't know. which is good. I mean, I knew I didn't know this much, but I think it was good, like maybe just like talking through some of it, because you were trying to like pick out my brain and see like what I didn't know. So yeah, definitely helpful. But yeah, I know it went terribly.
No, I think I honestly, you didn't do that bad. I mean, I don't run this too much on interns, so I've seen a lot worse. I think definitely you had a good structure. You followed a good structure. I mean, you did it pretty much how Hello Interview would do it, so I could tell that you've been practicing and studying. So yeah, somebody in the comments said, "Was this intern or junior?" Yeah, pretty good for intern or junior level. You mentioned a lot of good things like consistency versus availability. So I guess regarding consistency versus availability, so you're trying to think, you're trying to think of the whole system and if the system needs to prioritize consistency versus availability. But in such a large system, you don't need to make that trade off on the whole system as a whole. So you can have consistency versus availability trade offs in the different aspects. For example, if I had Ticketmaster, right?
Yeah.
I can make the whole website of it super available. That means people can always see tickets or see concerts that are happening and make sure that's and prioritize availability of that. But then when it comes to the checkout flow and them actually ordering the ticket, I can make that microservice consistent and prioritize consistency over availability there. So it's not about you don't need to make that trade off in the whole system. You can make that trade off on just the different parts as well. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. So like in certain areas,
Yeah.
obviously
So
like the ticket buying part, you need to have
yeah.
consistency. But
So for
then
here I
you need
could
that
so for here
availability.
I would say it's probably more important to have availability when it comes to actually looking at the restaurants that are nearby and being able to filter
Yeah.
them. But when it comes to placing the order and delivering the order, we need to prioritize consistency there because we don't want two drivers running to you and like competing for the same order, right? So
Yeah.
we need to make sure that's consistent. But
Okay.
yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I was thinking of like a certain feature that would lean a certain way, but then I didn't quite know because yeah, there's like conflicting stuff. But yeah, I guess
Yeah,
you could prioritize it for different parts of the system.
yeah, exactly. Where else? Um, I think you're able to define good API endpoints. One thing that would help here is maybe you could just be say restaurants, and then you could just say the query params,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and
I
then
should
just
have
list out the different query params here. Restaurant,
yeah.
this, that. If you need headers, you can just do this. If you need the body, you can just do that. That's more of how you would write it in when you're designing or if you're writing out a technical specification. So
Yeah.
sometimes that's easier to read and easier to reason
Okay.
through. So that'd be small advice there. So passing in the user ID, you're doing that at first, and that will lead to security issues. As in, I can pretend to be you. So most of the time you never pass a user ID when it comes
In
to
the
any of the
past.
requests. Usually that's you just pass in some sort of authentication token, and on the back end we figure out your user ID based on your authentication.
Oh,
Or
okay.
yeah. So usually the most basic form is having a cookie. So on the back end there's a session. The back end has a session and that maps your session ID to your user data, and then you store the session ID as a cookie on the front end, and every time you make a post request, you pass in that cookie, and then in the back end, it pulls down your session ID and figures out your user ID and stuff. That's a basic form of it, and there's tons of other ways. I think I would just familiarize myself with like the basic one, which is maybe just session and cookie, and then look into other ones like OAuth later. Just the way I would do it. Because once you understand the cookie based authentication, you easily understand the other ways to do authentication.
Yeah, I'll look into that after. Yeah.
Let's see what else. I think related to the database, I was like trying to dig in a little deeper. because it is for an internship and it is for a new grad, or when you're an internship or a new grad role. When I was doing these interviews, they didn't really care that much about my high level design. They're more trying to test my data modeling skills, my SQL skills, and if I understand some of the other things. Because, like I mentioned, you're able to build this diagram, but in the day to day of being an intern or a junior engineer, you're not really going to be designing these large scale systems. You're going to be You're going to be on the ground doing the groundwork, like building the SQL statements,
Yeah.
building the
Yeah.
APIs, all of, like focus. So what I would do with intern candidates is focus more on the API design, make sure that they can build the APIs, focus on the database, make sure that they can build a good database design, and then make sure that they understand how the client talks to the server and the server queries the database, because that's the main thing that they're going to be focused on day to day. Other things like setting up a load balancer and distributing load, I doubt you'll have to do that right away when you first graduate.
Okay.
So that's the part that I would like. Actually, you're fine because you already know that part. But then when I was asking you more things related about the API design and the database design, that those were
Yeah.
the parts you were shaky on, and that's probably where I would put more points on if I was hiring for an intern.
Okay. So API design and then like so basically being able to model this part better and then
Exactly.
like
So yeah, with the
API.
API design, I think that was fine because you're able to specify the correct verbs. You're able to put to create good resource names, and then you understood query parameters, headers, etc. I think that was fine. Maybe just getting through that a little bit faster and formatting it a little bit better. But then when it came to database, I think you need to be able to understand first off database, the different data types that you have access to for each of the columns,
Yeah.
understanding foreign keys and how those work, like how can you relate data between tables
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
perform queries. When if I and this I've had this in an interview before where someone told me just let's see what the select statement looks like. So that's why I tested you on that. So make sure you're able to like pump out the select statement,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
let's see, understand database indexing, foreign keys. What else? Let's see.
Yeah, wait. For the users orders restaurants thing, like is it better to like store the orders inside the users itself and just keeping it as one big table? I know it's like the whole thing with like normalization and denormalization because like if you have it in separate, you have to have a foreign key to like join it when you do the query. What is like more like what is better to do?
Well, if it's it depends if you're using SQL or NoSQL database. But how would you store orders in here? As in a JSON inside of orders?
Yeah, just like
Yeah. Well, if
some
you
sort of
store it
list
if
of objects.
yeah if you
Yeah.
store it in a JSON, then you don't get the SQL features, as in because you're just storing the orders in unstructured data.
You might
So
as well do the NoSQL then.
yeah, exactly. In NoSQL,
Oh,
you just store it as a blob, and but then you don't get
yeah.
the same. You don't get this. You can't query it the same way. It's harder to perform complex queries because the data is not following a schema. So those are
Okay.
some of the trade-offs. You could do that, but then what if I want to query all orders that were pretend I want to make a query for all people who ordered pizza, right? Then
Oh,
if it's all just denormalized, or sorry, if it's all just a JSON blob in the users table, like a list of JSONs in the users table, then I can't
yeah.
easily make that query. But here, if I had an orders table and I maybe had like a category, I could just easily select orders where category is pizza, right?
Okay, okay. I see
So
what you're saying.
those are
Yeah.
different things that you can think about. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just getting into some of the practical stuff, like I mentioned, understand. Like when I asked, for example, when I asked you, what is this server? So
Yeah, I didn't know what you're quite getting at. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
I was meaning like okay, so sometimes when I ask people that what is a server, they're like, oh, it's just an express server or it's Django server, or
Yeah, just
when
some
I
from the
ask,
back end.
yeah, like it's a backend server or Spring Boot, like any server. So yeah, pretty much I'm just trying to get into, because you said server, and I just want to understand if you know what that server actually is when it comes to coding. Like
Yeah.
which language or frameworks are you experienced with for creating servers?
Yeah, I mean, I've done Flask a
Yeah.
decent amount and a little
Hmm.
bit of Fast. So
Yeah. So I would
yeah,
be like, yeah, the server
yeah.
would maybe be a Flash server, or it doesn't
Okay.
matter technology. But yeah, when I ask you, what is this
Oh, I
server?
didn't know you were
That's
trying to
yeah.
answer a specific thing. I just thought that that was like given almost, that it's just like a
Okay.
backend. Yeah, but okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I think you could
Sorry.
be a lot more. The last piece of advice is you could be a lot more specific with the client to server flow, because I remember you're just like, the client will make the request, the server will parse out that request, and then the database will return it. It would be more like the way I would kind of walk through it. I would say we perform our get request with the restaurants. In the restaurant, we pass in the query parameters of restaurant type. The load balancer receives it and will route it to the server that has the least amount of load. The server will receive the API request, and it will figure out which route will handle it, and that's usually handled by the framework, and it will parse the API request or the HTTP request. You'll parse the HTTP request to figure out what resource you're trying to access, and also the restaurant type, and then it'll use pretty much what came from the request to craft a SQL statement, and usually it'll basically use this. It'll use that data to form the SQL statement, and then run the query against the database, and then pretty much return that to the client with 200 success. And then other things you could talk about maybe is some of the error states, as in pretend that they gave you a bad query,
Yeah.
pretend the database was overloaded and it didn't respond, different things like that, like
Okay.
200, 300, 400, 500, etc. But I think just being a little bit more specific of what is actually happening in the system when they request a restaurant. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Should I write like a flow then? Like you think with like the restaurant flow, maybe I could like write what it's sending here. You know what I mean? So that, and then I can write what is sent back. Like for, so I could be like a client that's trying to get the restaurants, like actually show the flow of how it works, like inside this, or do you think it should just be general like this and I explain it?
I would write down some notes, but just explaining. Yeah, like the client makes the call.
Okay.
It hits the server. The server parses it, or the server parses the request. It sees if the request is malformed, etc. If it's malformed, it sends a 400. If it's good, then it uses that data to form a query to send to the database. Like really getting in depth. And even if you don't get in depth, if someone were to ask you, you should be able to get in depth like that. Because I think I asked you, and then you didn't get in depth.
Okay. Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, overall, I think pretty good job for, especially for the intern position. My main thing would just be focus on API design and also the database stuff. So go like research the database stuff a little bit more.
All right, cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I honestly have to look through. I think I maybe after looking through a couple example problems after this, I can probably get it a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah,
more.
for sure. Like
But
you're pretty good. You have all the harder stuff down. So just need to. I think you should be set for your interview.
yeah, I mean, I don't know about that, but yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll try my best with it. Are you doing any more of these like next week or something or?
Yeah, I'll message you in the chat, or I'll send it to you. I'll send you an email.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
When is
I'll
your
text you.
interview at?
It's on August,
Okay,
August like 5th, I think.
cool.
So it's like next Wednesday.
All right.
Have some time before it.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds good. I'll catch you. I have to hop on with the next guy.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
Cool.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Bye
See ya.
bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Have a good one.
What's up? What's up? Oh, I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
What's up? What's up? I'm doing great, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you doing this. I know it's 11 here, but I know it's late for you as well. Getting late.
Yeah. Are you based in the East Coast?
I'm based in Dallas, so it's
Okay.
Central Time over here.
Nice.
11 o'clock.
Yeah. So I don't have my camera on because it messes with the stream a bit.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
I just figured I'd have mine on just so you could see my face.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see. So Dallas, Texas. Previously worked as a backend dev for nearly 4 years. Pretty cool. So you have some experience. Solved around 75 lead code. Cool. Do you have a traditional degree or are you self-taught?
No, I have an associate's, but I'm mainly self-taught. I kind of got
Nice.
my way in the industry by like making prototype video games and apps and stuff. And that
Nice.
kind of got my foot in the door. Yeah.
Cool. So what got you to start to do lead code?
I wanted to make a change. I had some life events happen, and I was like, I'm tired of being in Dallas. I'd like to move to the Bay Area if possible. So decided to hit the grind and start lead coding.
Yeah. What makes you want to move over to the Bay Area instead of Dallas?
My dream is becoming a game developer and having my own studio in the long run. So I think I was thinking about it, and logically, I should put myself in the place where it's most likely to happen. And San Francisco has like the most concentration of game developers in the country. Like it's one of the biggest game developer hubs in the country. Like I'd love to go to GDC, Game Developers Conference, or meet up at the indie meetups and stuff. Like I just want to kind of drown myself in that environment.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know they had that many, or I didn't know they did a lot of game developers out here, or they had a lot of game developers out here.
Yeah. I'd like Gears of War, Halo, like 343, all those studios are there. It's a pretty big hub. I don't know if I would want to work for those studios. Like I'm not a big work-life balance is a huge priority for me. But I would love to be in that area just so I could start meeting more people that kind of want to do the same thing I do.
Yeah. No, that's exactly why I moved here as well. So how are you doing with lead code so far? How's that experience for you been learning and getting ramped up with lead code?
Ups and downs. I'm not like I still think it's kind of dumb, not gonna lie. Like when I first started, when I first started this, I thought I would never be good at it, and I thought it was really dumb. And like whiteboarding, I was always bad at. And I've definitely made way more progress. I'm definitely better at it. But I still have a lot more to go, right? Still have a lot more progress to make. I'm just getting started, I guess. So
Yeah. Is it still frustrating?
not as much. I'm able to like figure out solutions to questions pretty easily from the jump. Um, can be like backtracking still gets me going sometimes. Like I can get very confused pretty quickly with that. But
Yeah.
ups and downs.
Okay. What sort of companies are you targeting, by the way? Because that will help me figure out what kind of question I'm gonna ask.
I don't have a particular company. Like work-life balance is my biggest priority in the location. I'd love to work for Fang, if possible, but also I wouldn't mind just working for like a Target or a Chase or something like smaller in that area that pays well, and I'm not working like crazy hours. If that makes sense.
Awesome. Cool. All right. That gives me enough context to figure out the first question. I sent you the link in our chat, by the way, to get on to.
Yeah, I think okay, I'm here.
Cool. So what programming language do you want to use?
Python's great.
Nice. Cool. All right. So we're going to get into the first question. What I want you to do is write me some code that is going to move all the zeros to the end of an array while maintaining the relative order of the non-zero elements.
Okay. Give me an array. So 0, 1, 0, 3, 12. We're just moving all the zeros to the end in place, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Let me write down some notes, assumptions, and stuff before I start.
Sure.
Let's see. So first thing, any questions that are popping up at me? If the array has no zeros, do I just return the original array?
Yeah. Because there will be nothing to move, right?
Yeah. See if there's anything else. And you said it has to be in place. Do we have like a length? Is there a max length the array can be?
It could be any size. Maybe
Any
up
size?
to. Let's look at these traits. It could be up to 10,000. How would that affect your design?
Well, we definitely wouldn't want to try to do something where we're going over each input if it's going to be something like up to 10,000, right? We wouldn't want to go over each number to check if it's a zero and then move it to the end. So we'd probably want to find a better way to do it if the array could be up to 10,000. I guess O of n is still fine in that case, though, right?
Up to. Well, like, how would we know? How would we make sure we don't miss any zeros if we don't look at every single element? Is it possible?
That's a good question. I guess not. No, you could use a counter data structure that would count the amount of zeros, but if you look deeper in that function, you're still going over each number. Like when you initialize a counter structure, you would still be going over each number. So at the moment I'm not thinking of a way that you would be able to do that. So yeah, I guess we're gonna have to. Would O of n be fine? Is that a fine kind of
I think so.
speed?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it. I'll go ahead and I always like to ask these three questions. Is it possible we can have any null values? Could the array be null?
No.
No null. Okay.
No.
And then could we have any like malformed inputs? So like, could I be tossed a string or like an array of strings or something like that?
No, we could assume that the input is well formed. Good question.
Okay. And can the array be empty?
Yeah, the array could be empty.
Cool. Okay. Cool. That's all the questions I have. Let me go ahead and start thinking of a plan. So first solution that's popping out at me, we could do a 2-pointer solution. We could have 1 pointer at the end of the array. And then every time we find a zero, while we use let me start over. 2-pointer solution. The first pointer would be at the beginning of the array. As it's going over each number, if it sees a zero, it then switches that zero with the pointer at the end of the array. And then the pointer at the end of the array moves up more. That's the first solution I'm thinking of.
So you're gonna have like 1 pointer here and 1 pointer here. How would that look like?
Yeah, so that's exactly it. We'd have 1 pointer there, 1 pointer there. We'd have like a loop that goes over each number. When it hits this zero, it would then switch that zero input with this 12, and then we would move this pointer up 1 as well.
Okay, so we get this.
Correct.
Okay. And then what happens for the 1 here?
So we would then see if it's a zero or not. It's not a zero, so I think we would keep moving this pointer up 1. We'd see this is a zero. So we would switch this with the 3 at the other pointer's location. Okay. And then once they've crossed or equal the same, we'd exit out the loop.
Okay. So would that algorithm break any of the requirements up here?
I don't think so. It should be in place, right? Because we're taking the index. We have 2 pointers that have the indexes, and all we're doing is switching the indexes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not creating a new array.
What about this line?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the relative order part. Okay. Um, we want to keep them relatively the same. I think this should, let me just go over an example. So 0 here, we switch this 12. Pointer will move up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. It won't maintain the relative order. So yeah, just curious on your strategy for making sure it
Yeah.
maintains.
Yeah, if that's the case, then maybe the two-pointer solution would not work if we want to make sure the order is the same. Trying to think of what would be a better way to do this. Maybe would a stack work here? Could we go over the array, and then once we see a 0, we switch it with the last index, and then if it's not a 0, we store it in a stack, and then output. So that maintains the order. Maybe I think there's another.
So you think using a stack?
Possibly. I'm kind of more thinking out loud, but yeah, maybe a stack could possibly solve that for us, right? Because maybe both, because we'd have the two pointers, and then we'd switch out when we see a 0. When we don't see a 0, we add it to the stack. And then after we've switched out the correct value, but then no, we still wouldn't keep the in order, the relative order. I guess, well, no, we could, because then afterwards we could just go back to the beginning and use our pop off the stack one by one, because we know the end will have zeros, right?
So what would the stack look like? Would you able to walk me through how your algorithm would work with the stack?
Yeah, sure. So we'd still have the two pointers.
Mm-hmm.
When we get to a 0, we'd switch out the 0 with the other pointer, our end pointer. So 12 and 0 would switch. And then once we get to 1, we'd put that in the stack. 0, we'd switch again. I guess when we say relative order, because even like we have this 12 and 0 here, if we would want the 12 to be, did we still want the 12 to be in front of the 3 even after we switch it with a 0?
Yep. So if you look at line 9 here, you'll see the expected output. See the order is still 1, 3, and 12.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, then that's not going to work.
I think the 2-pointer is promising. We just think of different ways that we could do this 2-pointer.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what are the different ways you can put them both at one in the front, one in the back. That's the first one, but that didn't work. Where are other ways that we can add the pointers?
Could we do one in the I guess we would want one like in front. I don't know. I'm sorry. Let me think a little bit more on that. Because you could have like maybe the first pointer in front of the 3, right? Because after that, you know for sure. Because you want the 12. We could have one pointer at the 0 and then like maybe just another pointer ahead. Or at the first whole number that's not, or the number that's not a 0. So
like this.
yeah, kind of like that. And then we would, once we come across once we have that, we can just switch these two. Well, no, because then that won't be at the end. hmm. Oh, we could just have one at like, because what we want to do is we want to grab the first whole number that's not a 0, and then we want to make sure we switch that with a 0. And we want to keep doing that to keep the order, right? So we could have the first pointer at the 1 and then the next pointer at whatever 0 we have, or the way we have it now. Then we move the 1. I guess we would put the 0 at the end. But then how would we use 2 pointers for that? Or why would we use 2 pointers for that? Because at that point no, that actually, yeah, actually. So if we have 2 pointers, one 0 and one at the first whole number we find, once we find a 0, we just put that at the end. We don't need a pointer to know where the end of the array is, right? And then we put the 1 in that position. And then we keep going until we find another whole number and another 0. And we just do that again, right? Does that make sense? So like if we have...
Yeah, could you explain it to me? Or just show, like, simulate it for me, just to make sure.
Yeah, so we would
actually works.
have... So we'd have a first pointer, and then we'd have a second pointer. The first pointer would, I say, would find the first 0, and then the second pointer would find the first whole number. Now that we have those 2 things, we can just take the 0, put it at the end of the array, and then move the 1 to that pointer's place. So it would be 1. So then, yeah, so this 1 would go to the 0's location.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 0 would go at the end. After that, we would then move up the pointer that we used to find the 0. We would move it up until we found another one, which would be here.
Okay, so 1 flips with 0.
Yeah.
And then?
And I'm sorry, it wouldn't even flip. The one in the 0, we'd use the 0 pointer to find where the 0 is, but we wouldn't move the 0 there. We would just move it to the end of the array, right? Because we just need to keep the original order. So we'd move the 0 here.
Okay.
And then yeah, so it would be like that, right? So 1 0 3 12 0. Then from there we would just move the pointer until we found another 0, and then we would move this pointer until we found another whole number. So this would move up to
so
3.
What's the cost of moving that to the back of the array?
It should be, oh, actually I'm not sure what in Python. If we put -1, or like length -1 to get the last index, would that, I don't know if that would be constant or not. It might not be because we're grabbing the length, right? And that's not constant time.
Yeah. Like when we
Um,
add it to the back, then what would we do? Shift all the other elements one down to the left to make up for.
yeah,
So that would be oven.
yeah, that would be oven. Yeah, which okay,
Like,
I can see that.
let's think about this for a second. Let's see. Let's go back here. Do we really need to care about if we had the 2 pointers at the front? Do we really need to care about sending zeros to the back, or will they just naturally get there if we just move all of the non-zeros to the front?
Oh my God, yeah, you're right. Yeah, if we just move the whole numbers to the front, then the zeros would naturally get to the back. Yeah. Um, so if that's the case, we just need a pointer at the front, and then we need a pointer um, at whatever first whole number we find, right? Oh my God, yeah. So we would have 2 pointers. We'd have one here and here. We'd find the one. We'd switch it with the 0. Um, and then I guess we would move up this pointer. And then we would you move this pointer up until we found the next whole number, which would be here. And then we would switch those again. So this would be a 0, and this would be a 3. And then we'd move up this pointer, and then we'd move up. We'd keep moving up this pointer until we found the next whole number, which would be here. And then we'd switch them again. Oh yeah, oh man, I was overthinking it.
Okay, go ahead and try it out. Implement.
Okay, want me to start coding it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Do we have a function definition, or do I have to make my own?
Yeah, go ahead and make your own, and let's just confirm with me if it looks good.
Okay. Move zeros. Can I move zeros? Do that. Okay, so let's see. I usually write a plan so I don't have to get too lost, but let me go ahead and. So we're going to have 2 pointers. So first pointer equals 0. Second pointer equals 1. So my typing. The second pointer equals 1. And then from there, we also want to make sure the array isn't empty. So, or I guess that would check if it's null. Okay, from there, now we're going to want to traverse over each thing. So for and array. Let's see, best way to code this, or if I want to do like a while loop or something. Yeah, let's do a while loop actually, instead of going over each while. Yeah. Oops, yeah. I'll start pointer and second pointer. Or no, I'll start pointer is less than second pointer. Less than or equal. Okay, from there, let's see. now we're going to actually get into it. So if first, let's see, let's do this. Oh, yeah. Start pointer. If num equals doesn't equal 0, then we want to keep the start pointer there. Yeah, if num doesn't equal 0, no, actually, sorry. Let's do if because we really want to just move the second pointer. Well, no, we want to make sure the first number could be 0. So let me do, yeah, let's do it this way. Yeah, if num equals 0, then we want to keep moving. So actually, sorry, I'm thinking of something. If we have an array that has a 0 at the beginning, right? And we have our start pointer at 0 and our second pointer at 1. Yeah. We'd want to, in that case, we'd probably want to keep the start pointer as it is and then move up the second pointer. Or I guess we could just check and see if I think, okay, is what I'll do. If num equals 0, we're going to keep it there and then move up. Yeah, keep it there, and then we'll move up the second pointer until we'll find a whole number. So num equals 0, we move the do this for better naming. Second pointer. Okay. So while num, actually no, that won't work. So it'll have to be this second pointer. All array second pointer doesn't or equals 0. We're going to move the second pointer. We're going to plus it +1. So once we found the second pointer that points to a whole number, we would then just switch them out. So it would be
Okay, I'm gonna stop you on this question because I want to get to another question as well. Just so we can focus on more breadth over depth. Let me cancel this out. We're gonna move on to Q2. So what we're being asked here is we're gonna be given two non-negative integers, num1 and num2, representing a string. We just need to return the sum of those two numbers, but we can't just convert those strings into integers and then add them. We need to find a different approach. That makes sense so far?
Yeah. So you must also not convert the inputs to the integers directly. Interesting. So let me look at this first example. We have num1 1 and then num2 1 2 3. Got you. Okay. And the numbers will be given. Okay, they'll also be represented as a string. And we are not allowed to cast the ints to the strings to ints directly.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can strings be empty?
Strings can be empty. No, each string will at least have one digit.
Okay. I think. Okay, and I'm assuming there won't be any malformed inputs as well, right, for this?
Yep.
Okay.
We could assume that there's no leading zeros, except for 0 itself. So there won't be like zeros like this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only constraints though. Or let's just assume that it's the input is formed well.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So I'm gonna be honest on this one. This is a weak spot for me. If we can't use any libraries or anything or use casting,
Well, we can cast digit by digit, but just not the whole number.
oh, we can cast digit by digit.
Yeah, we can cast a digit, one digit by digit.
Okay, that actually makes it a little easier then. And then we want to, okay, so this becomes a little easier. I think we would go by each number. We'd go character by character. But then, like, let's say we have something in the hundreds. So I was thinking we could go, like, say, take the 1, we cast that into an integer, and add it to a total on the first example, by the way. And then we take that second integer, or character in this case, which would be another 1, and then we turn it into an integer and multiply it times 10 to get its or I guess we could just add 10. Right, let me
So pretend we weren't even, this wasn't even in code. How would we just add two big digits together usually? Pretend you're giving it in a blank sheet of paper. How would you do it?
Oh, like what's it called? Like where you're like writing down hand-drawn math arithmetic, where you're like looking at each place.
Are you able to look at the drawing here? Oh shoot, there's a lot.
Yes.
Then I gave you
Well, I see this.
99 plus 102. How would you actually get the final result here? Like how would you just add these up to get the result?
So you would take each digit, right? So the 9 and the 2, which would be 11. Then like a 1 would carry over. Oh God, I haven't done this since like high school. Yeah. So how do you draw on this? Is it?
Sure. You click 7 or up here 7.
Oh right. Okay.
Top bar.
Yeah. So this would be a 1, and then 1 would carry over, then you would add that. So 1 and 9 and 0, which would be a 10, and then the 1 would carry over, so 0. And then you add a 1 there, so it'd be 201, right?
Yeah.
Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Exactly. So yeah, you just add them. Struggling with the drawing. Let's go. Like usually, yeah, you just compare the digits. You add them, and then there's carryover. What? Let's work through another example. Maybe like 67. 50. How would this one look?
Same thing, right? So you would add the 0 and 7,
Maybe
which would be
just
7.
Okay.
Yeah, and then 6 and 5, which would be 11. So it'd be 117, right?
Okay. So yeah, I think if given that information, do you think you could apply that to the code?
To do that in code. Yeah. So I think this time I'm gonna try to write a plan so I don't get too lost in my own thoughts and stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, so the first thing we would want to do, we'd want to start a loop that starts from the last character, right? So and then inside that loop, we want to cast both characters into numbers and then add them together. After that, we want to check and see if the number is 10 or higher. If 10 or higher, we would have another variable of some sort that we can call remainder. If 10 or higher, yeah. So then we add that to the remainder. So if it's 10 or higher, we add remainder equals 1. We get that first character, right? Do we always want that first character? Yeah, we do. And then we go to the next one. We move backwards to the next two numbers. Let me think. Oh, the only other thing we'd want to do, right, is do we want to add the numbers here? Say 707. Yeah.
Which one are you thinking about? Example 2?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And the numbers are also different lengths as well. So
Yeah, they can be
another
different
thing to
lengths.
think about. Yeah.
I'll give you a small tip there. Like maybe you could just reverse the two strings.
Reverse them and then go over them.
Or to line them up. If you reverse them, they'd be lined up properly.
So you mean it would
You'd
be
be comparing the least significant digits. Like you have to be reversed to 77.
okay.
And you could just kind of work left to right, doing your algorithm. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So if we do that though, so like let's say we do that here, 6 5 is 11. We carry over the 1. This would be 13. And we carry over the 1. So would this be 1 3 5? Or yeah, 3 1 5.
Then what's here? 7. That's 12.
Yeah,
Plus
12
1
plus
is
the
13.
remainder. Yeah, so it'd be 3.
3
and
here.
then we carry over the 1.
Okay.
And then this would
Remember
be
that.
5 because, yeah, so it would be 3, 3, 5. Okay, and then we just reverse it again to get the expected answer. Cool, that'll work. Okay, so yeah, instead of doing that, then I'll just go ahead and
Yeah, because it might get complicated looping from the back of each one, and they're not the same length. And
yeah, I was thinking about that, like how would you add the totals and stuff. Loop over chars, we keep the remainder. And then I think the other thing we need to check before we move on to the next, or I guess before we add it to the result, right? Because we would probably also want to keep it as a, like, probably have a string or something and not directly add them. So we'd have like a, and then we'd add, oh, that's a lot of casting to and from though. I guess we could just, either way, we'd have a result that we would either append to. Yeah, I think we'd append to it. So we'd append whatever the second character is, right? So like, let's say we have something that's over 10, we'd want to append, or that is 10, we'd want to append the 0 and then save the remainder as 1. So in that case, I'll guess just append that, something like that. And then move on to the next one. And then we should probably have a check though if there's any remainder though, right? So like before we add the remainder, we should probably have a check that's just like if remainder doesn't equal 0, we add that to our running total for these characters. So right, something like that. And then we would probably, if there's then we would update the remainder as well.
yeah.
And then we would append.
Okay, I think you're close to it. Go ahead and just start coding because we have less than 10 minutes left. And feel free when you're coding to run the code as much times as you like to just make sure that's working correctly. And you can debug by just looking at the console.
Sure. So results. Okay, so okay. Total greater than or equal to 10. Yeah, actually, yeah, actually, actually, I can just do this. Right, because that will, this way we have 13. No, actually that won't work. We want the first. So it would be, it's the best way to grab the first number off of total. You could just divide by 10, right? Because total divided by 10 will give you the first.
Well, if the total is greater than equal to 10, what are we using the remainder for? Wouldn't the remainder just either be 0 or 1? Like 0 if there's no carry, 1 if there is a carry?
Yes, but like, I guess I'm accounting for if the number could be higher. Like if it's 20 or something and we need to grab a 2, we probably just don't want to assume it's a 1, like if it's over 10, right? Like if we have, like if we calculate two numbers and it equals up to like 20, we would then want to make sure we grab the correct first digit, which would be the 2 as the remainder, right?
By remainder, do you mean the carryover?
The carryover, yes. Yes.
Well, okay. Since we're comparing digit by digit, the two biggest digits would be a 9, so that would at most be 18.
Okay, you're
So
right. Yeah, I'm
1.
just.
If there's one carry, if there's actually even a 1, that's 9 plus 9, 18. So the most it could be is 19.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. So in that case, well, this is what we want to do then. If it equals 10, we just want to grab we just want to make it a 1. In any situation will be a 1. Yeah. So 10, it'll be a 1, and then yeah. Okay. Cool. I was overthinking it. Greater than or equal to 10. Remainder equals 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we would then just add this to the result array. So result dot append, and then we would want to put this in a string, right? So we could do. I'm not sure if this is the correct syntax for that. Or I guess it would do dot join total. So it would be.
Or I think just something like this would work. String total.
Oh, just convert it that way. Okay.
But what if the total is now is like 12 or 18 or 13?
Oh, right. We want to make sure to get rid of, remove the 10 from the total, or yeah, we want to remove 10 from the total. So we just do total minus equals 10. So we save the remainder and then we remove 10 to get the second digit, which is what we care about. And then after that, after all that's done, we would just return reverse, which I think is the correct method, return reverse result.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see if this runs. Too many values to unpack.
Expected to. Too many values to unpack. Okay. Let's see. This is the reason. I'm not exactly sure. Oh, let's hold on. That'll fix that problem, but I don't think that's the problem it was complaining about.
Where is it complaining, the error? Or where's the error coming from?
It's coming from this for loop. For char2, char2, and num2. That could be the wrong syntax. Because too many values to unpack expected to. Okay, just to play it safe, I'll do this in an easier way. I'll just use an index instead. So for I. But if I do that, then we're going to have to worry about error checking and empty indexes, right? Um, was my syntax wrong there? Or I guess I could do like a zip or something.
Okay, so what are you trying to do here? You're trying to loop through num2 and num and num2 at the same time?
Yeah, so if my assumption is correct, this takes the first character of each number. So the first
I
character
mean, if you
for
wanted to do this, you'd have to zip them.
you'd have to do zip. Okay,
That would
I couldn't
probably
remember.
see. So that works. Iterate your object. I'll turn this into this. We got 1 1.
And then let's see, we're using these two. Let's see what's going wrong here. Total is greater than or equal to 10. Remainder would equal 1. How's it getting 1 from that? Zero, 4. It doesn't look like it's reversing it, right? Because that should be correct. It should be 40, but it looks like it's still in a...
Let's see. So it came out at 40 because, okay. We did
Oh,
two.
do I have to add maybe a join? So like reverse result dot join something? Like string dot join?
But even if we did a join, we could do. Like if we did do a join, if it's not in the right order, it's just gonna come back in the wrong order still. 0 4. Maybe try to dry run it line by line. What's happening with this 20?
Sure. So we take the first. So I forgot to reverse the arrays at the beginning. That could be it. Right. So num equals reversed. Num, which I think is the correct method. I'm just spelling it wrong. Yeah. Num and then num2 would equal reverse. Let's see, run that. Worse. There we go.
Nice. What if we did like 240?
It's missing the 2. Let's see why. Oh, because 2 would be the last thing we go over, right? So we reverse it. We do 0 4.
Like pretend we even had 2. This should equal 242.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
not.
Zip is just stops when one of the arrays is done.
One of these is empty. Okay. Yeah, so maybe it would have been better to just use indices and then just check if there is a number there before doing a calculation on it.
Yeah. Okay, we're pretty much out of
safe
time.
between-
Just wanted to also save time for like the debrief. How do you think you did? How was that for you?
Oh, I did awful, man. So I've been focusing on binary trees and other stuff. So like these 2 questions kind of blindsided me a little bit. I definitely think I could have done better, especially on that first question.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about let's talk about where we could improve here. Come down to like line 99. I think one area would be just simulating in the comments a little bit better. So that will help you jog your memory. So like how I did it with just having the pointers. Maybe when you did the other ones, you're saying we're gonna swap them, but then you weren't actually just swapping them.
Swapping
I
them.
was sort of like actually go through the comments and sort of simulate what's happening, because that will help you. That will help gauge or help you understand how the array is being modified.
Yeah, that
So I
makes
think
sense.
yeah. So when you're simulating, instead of saying it out loud, try to write it down or try to show in the comments how it's working. So that might jog your imagination on like how to fix it. With when it comes to the 2 pointers, you wanted to put one pointer in the front and one pointer in the back, and that's one way to do it. But if that doesn't work, try other ways, like maybe 2 pointers at the front, 2 pointers in the back. Those are pretty much the only variations of where to put the pointers as well. So just yeah, trying all the different possibilities there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think yeah,
Yeah,
once you got
yeah.
there,
When you, I'm
oh, go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, yeah, when you, I could tell it was a two-pointer solution, but after the, once I figured out the beginning and end pointers wouldn't work, my brain
Mhm.
kind of just was like, I could not think of another way of doing it for some
Yeah.
reason.
No, that
Um,
happens honestly when you really think it should be some way, and then all of a sudden you like that way doesn't work out for you, and then you just get into panic mode. That happens a lot of
yeah,
the times, and
that's
I
exactly
could
what happened.
I could tell like it affected the way you did your second question too. Like when you get stumped on the first question, sometimes it's hard to do the second question.
Yeah, I tried to shake it off and be like, okay, just act like it didn't happen, but yeah, it's hard to not let it kind of like affect your confidence after the first one went so badly.
Yeah, I think let's look at the code. The code could also be simplified too a little bit, like having the start pointer and the second pointer. Usually, so for this one, you don't really need to have because you have like the while loop and then the while loop under. Pretty much all you kind of need to do is have like a pointer here, or move them from have them both at the start. But then you could start them both at the same index, and then just keep one sitting back, or have one pointer pretty much telling you where the next available slot to swap with would be. So let's
Mhm.
call this one next available with an A. So we could just move one pointer from left to right. So since this is a 0, we move it forward. Since this is a 1, we just swap 1, 0, and then we move the next available up here. And then we just keep moving 3 and 0.
Yeah, I definitely overthought it because
Yeah.
usually the way I do pointers is I let I be my front pointer, and then once I has reached over a certain amount, I set the beginning pointer. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I definitely could have coded this better. I think at this point though, I was like
Yeah.
freaking out a little.
But
So I was trying
honestly,
to
yeah,
keep,
the way that I would do it when I did it when I first started was similar to the way you did it here, where I would try to have another while loop to find the next available pointer that's not 0, and then manage some other pointer. But then what it's good to get it working that way, but sometimes it overcomplicates. So you can look at
yeah, for sure.
so with a lot of these questions, you could find ways to sort of simplify it by handling some of the edge cases. For example, the edge case here when it comes to super or when it comes to digits not being the same size could also be simplified a lot. Like for example, we have 3 3 3 3 3 3, right? These are not they're not the same size, so what you could just do is similar just have an index here. We could be
What
like
line are you on?
or line 57.
Okay.
So one way to handle all the edge cases here is we start index at 0. We know that num1 and num2 are not the same size. So what we would do is actually we'll just loop for the we'll probably just loop for the maximum of num1 and num2, right? And then we could just get
That makes sense.
car
Yeah.
1, car 2. And then we could do something if the index is greater than the length of num1. Sort of use a ternary operation. If
Yeah.
the index is greater, else actually grab from num the index. So different ways to simplify that, like that. So car 1. You see what I did there to just make sure that we can handle cases of different lengths.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
yeah, finding those are just ways to simplify the code and avoid bugs in the interview. But it's all you'll figure out these little tricks the more you practice.
Yeah. Okay.
So
That's
yeah,
fair.
cool.
Yeah. I don't. So, do you have time for a couple of questions? I know it's
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
kind
for
of
sure.
late.
No. What questions do you
Uh,
have?
so I guess first question is like, I don't know, man. I feel cooked. Like, I'm going for mid-level roles,
Mm.
but I'm going like this is kind of like, in a normal role, I wouldn't have to worry about is my leak code skills high enough. But I feel like I'm still, even though I've been practicing and working on it a lot, I'm still super behind on what a mid-level should be, especially if I'm trying to get a job in the Bay Area.
Mm.
I don't know.
I,
What are
yeah.
your thoughts on that?
How have you been practicing? What was your strategy?
Um, so a couple of ways. I'm in like have you heard of formation.dev?
Yeah, I heard of them.
Yeah. So I'm in formation. I'm also in Esco's group, which is like for Black engineers. He's like a senior engineer in Airbnb, and he does
Nice.
like study system design groups and
Mm.
algorithm groups. So I'm in both of those, and then I just try to do leak code,
Yeah.
at least 2 or 3 leak code questions a day,
Mm.
and then I have at least 1 or 2 mock interviews scheduled every week.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. But how do you practice the lead code? Do you just take random questions and try to solve it?
Um, yeah, mostly either that, I'll pick a random question, or I'll pick something that I think I need to work on. So lately I've been focusing on binary trees, trying to make sure I get them down, BFS and DFS, etc.
Yeah. I would just that's the way I would sort of go about it. I would work topic by topic or data structure by data structure. So for example, I would do a bunch of array questions, then I'll do a bunch of stack questions. So I don't really need to figure out what the algorithm is. I just need to be able to know how to apply that algorithm to solve a problem and then write the code fast or write the code well. So I'll do a bunch of stack questions, then some queue questions, then some binary tree, then some linked list. And then I'll move on from working on data structure or I'll move from working on data structure to pattern by pattern. So then I'll move to maybe like the two pointers and then I'll move on to heaps, etc. But I think that just helps you gain all the different tools in your toolbox so that when you receive a random question, you kind of have the foundation to solve that question and it's not like you're going to have to come up with an algorithm on the spot to solve that problem. You'll have all the tools in your toolbox to solve the problem. It's more just figuring out which one to apply to that problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I've gotten to the point where I can see, or I have a pretty good idea of guessing what the solution would be, whether it's 2 pointers or something else. It's just implementing. I'm still kind of like so on. I try to write a plan so I don't get too lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it still needs some work.
Do you time yourself when you are practicing?
Yeah, I do. If I take more than 45 minutes, I'll usually just stop and look at the solution and then try again another
Yeah.
time.
I would even drop it to 30 minutes.
Okay.
Unless it's a
That
hard
makes sense.
question. If it's an easy question, because you spent a lot of time actually planning it out, which is good, but in a interview situation, you would have went over and not finished it in time. So
Right.
I would just improve the pace and just make sure that even from the start you're working at a fast enough pace. So for easy questions, I'll drop it to 30, medium questions maybe 45. And then as you
Mm.
get better, continue to make the constraints shorter.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I've been asking people that work in Fang a lot about this, but like I'd love to hear your opinion. Like, if your priority is work-life balance, do you think Fang is reasonable or realistic to go for, or should I just try to go for maybe something outside of Fang? Um, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
For
what are your
me,
thoughts?
honestly,
Because
I've worked at startups before. So I worked at super early stage startup, then a unicorn company, then now a fan company. So I would say the one that it really all depends on the company. A lot of startups will actually make you work really hard because they're just starting up, and then like there's so much business pressure to get things done, and there's so much
Right.
visibility. There's so much visibility to the point that you know every engineer and what they've produced in the last month, 2 months. So it's really hard to hide. For the unicorn companies, the one that I worked at was really had bad work life balance, but everyone knew joining. Go, everyone knew through blind, and it was just known for a company that works you hard. But I would say at fan companies, they won't work you as hard as an early stage startup or a unicorn. From my experience and what I've read online,
Okay.
but they'll work you harder than a public company who's not Fang. For example, a bank. I've heard the
Yeah.
banks are really chill.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. My first job was at a continuing education company.
Yeah.
It was
So it really
super
depends
chill.
on the company and the industry. So if you're working at an AI company, if you're in Fang AI, they're gonna work you really hard. If you're in a startup AI, they're gonna work you really hard. Really depends on the industry, as well.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, man, it's hard for me because I've been doing this. Like, I quit my job last year. I
Hmm.
wanted to like really take this risk, but man, progress is going slow. I feel like I'm still not ready enough, but I'll keep pushing.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I can do, right?
Let's do
Just
this
keep
again
pushing.
at some point. You're just gonna get better from here. Honestly, you have what it takes to do well in the interview. You have this right process. It's more just
Mhm.
cycling through the ideas faster. As in, okay, that one didn't work. Let me try moving the pointers from the front. Maybe move the pointers from the back, etc. And then just implementing the code. I think you have the right process. It's just more studying. You only did
Okay.
75 questions. When I only did 75 questions, I could barely do well in the interview too. Only when I got to over 150 was I really starting to do well in interviews. I think around
Okay.
200. I think once you pass over 100 or 150, you'll start to see it change, and it's all just practice at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll keep pushing. Like, last year I thought I would never be able to do this, so
Yeah,
I'm trying to defeat the imposter syndrome, right? And keep
yeah,
pushing, and hopefully I'll get there one day. But yeah, I'd love to do this again. It's been awesome talking with you. Is it cool? Do you have a LinkedIn? Can I send you can
yeah,
we
for
connect
sure.
on there and
Yeah,
stuff
let's
as
connect
well?
on
I
LinkedIn and
know I'm in your
talk.
Discord.
Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll send you my email, and then, or I mean, I'll send it to you through email because I already have your email. But yeah, thanks for coming
Okay.
out. That was fun. I'll catch you
Yeah,
again.
no, thank you, man. Really appreciate it. I look forward to doing it again
All right, see ya. Have a good night.
later.
Bye. My LinkedIn profile pic is Yeah, my LinkedIn profile pic is when I was a kid, bro. So funny. Let me check it out. All right, I gotta get into work early. Thanks everyone for tuning in. That was a really good stream. Had really good candidates come on. That was fun. I'll see y'all in the next episode, which is tomorrow. We're gonna Yeah, do it, bro. I'll follow you. Yeah, we can do like a dual stream. Um, yeah, there's gonna be a lot. Could you drop that link real quick before? Which link? Cyclops, I need to update my Calendly. It's not for tomorrow because tomorrow it's already full. But the next week after that, it's probably next weekend. Cause this weekend, or like next Wednesday or Thursday, or maybe this Thursday or Friday. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you in the Discord. But yeah, which team am I on? I'm on a team called Human Review in the AI solutions and automation org. But okay, I'll catch y'all in the next stream. Peace.